We're back.
Now we're back. Let's get a good thumbnail. Welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk about a book that I've been reading. It is called The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. And this book is about one thing and one thing only, which is waking up early. And I basically read this book out of necessity because for the past few months, my morning routine has been awful. And by awful, I mean pretty much non-existent. Like, I don't have a morning routine. So I have the luxury of working from home, and that's great, and there's a lot of benefits to that, and I'm grateful for that. But one of the downsides is that you have a lot of freedom. And you think, well, you know, freedom is a good thing. Like, why wouldn't I want more freedom? But what it does is it kind of knocks you out of a regular routine or into a worse routine, depending on how you want to look at it. But I basically have the luxury of, you know, if I hop on at 9 a.m., I'll wake up at 8:30, roll out of bed, chug some coffee, maybe do some scrolling, and open my laptop and just hop online. And right in the beginning of my day, within the first 30 minutes, I'm already getting hit with, you know, emails and Slack and whatever. Or if I'm scrolling, I'm getting hit with, you know, whatever the news of the day that's going to piss me off is, or something on, you know, other people's lives on social media. It's just not like that healthy of a thing. And I'm not saying anything new. I think we all kind of know that. So I've been wanting to get back to waking up early and just imbuing my day with more intention, because I think that's the biggest benefit of waking up early is you infuse your day with so much more intention at the beginning, which allows you to sort of build momentum throughout the rest of your day. And when you don't wake up and get after it right away, what you're doing is you're kind of playing catch up for the rest of the day. Like, whenever I don't wake up early, I kind of feel like the day is just happening to me, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like I'm spending all day reacting to what's going on instead of playing offense and deciding how I want to spend my time that day. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like a leaf kind of blowing in the wind if I wake up late. And it's very reactionary. And I have, at times in my, you know, in the past, I have been really good about waking up early. And I don't mean waking up early because a job requires it or something like that. I mean really waking up early with the intention of doing things that are edifying, that kind of give you a leg up on the rest of the day. Excuse me, my voice just cracked. I'm a grown man. What's my voice cracking for? But doing things that are edifying, right? Things like working out, reading, journaling. One of the things I like to do is scripture reading. I like to do a Bible study in the morning, just spend some time with God, meditation, things like that. And so I picked up this book because I needed some inspiration. I needed some guidance as to how to get back into this routine. And you think, well, what do you need guidance about? It's just about waking up early, right? But so much of it is mental. So much of it is a mindset that you have to adopt, right? Because the physical activity is not that hard, if you think about it. Like, you're just waking up, right, at a certain time. That's in of itself is not hard. It's the mental switch that is needed to wake up at a time like a 5 a.m. or a 6 a.m. I feel like gives you similar benefits. But just getting up before you need to so that you can do things that are edifying, that are going to build you up, that takes a mental shift. And so that's mainly what I wanted to read this book for. And this book's pretty interesting. It's written in narrative form, which is an interesting way to write a self-development book. I know that's not like totally unique. There are several other self-development books that are written like that. I personally think this book would have been better off written just as a nonfiction, like typical self-development work, because the narrative does get a little bit a little bit, I don't know, cheesy for lack of a better term. But anyway, that's just my opinion. The book is still really valuable. It's got some really good insights, and I just wanted to come on here and just kind of talk about some of the ideas from the book. And one of the things that is discussed a lot in the book is, what I already just mentioned, which is that it does take a mindset shift to want to do this and to be consistent with it. In other words, you have to have a reason for why you're waking up early. You have to have some sort of vision for your life and where you want to take it. If you're going to stick to this practice. And the way that he talks about it in the book I really like is because he talks about it as being, it's not just one practice amongst many. It's actually the sort of one of the fundamental practices that kind of builds upon all the other things that you could be doing in your life, right? Like all the other sort of self-development tools that you're implementing in your life. This is kind of one of those foundational practices because, like I just mentioned, your days are kind of they're like mini cycles, And at the beginning, there's a lot of potential, right? You have this stored up amount of willpower that you have at the beginning of the day that you don't have at the end of the day, because willpower is very much a sort of battery within you that will drain throughout the entire day. And there's all types of neuroscience on this. They kind of get into it a little bit in the book, but basically willpower is not unlimited, right? You have a store of it at the beginning of the day, and with every choice that you make, you get fatigued. It drains you. And that could be little choices, like where are you going to eat for lunch? Or that could be big choices, But every choice, and you make thousands of choices a day. Like think about all the times you have to choose something throughout the day. It's thousands, right? And you don't even know it. Like we're unaware of how much choice we have in our day. And so as that dwindles down throughout the day, your potentiality to do other things becomes less and less. And that's why in the evenings when you get home from work, it's a lot easier to talk yourself out of doing certain things like going to the gym or whatever, working on a project. So using that stored up willpower at the beginning of the day, it sets the tone for the rest of the day, and it puts you on the offense, like I was saying, and it sets the stage for the rest of your day, and not only that, the rest of your week, because the more you do this, the more you stack days, that has compounding interest. All the days as you continue practicing this build upon themselves, And I've felt this in my life. Like whenever I wake up in the morning earlier than I need to, and I get after it, or, especially at 5 a.m., which is like just a magical hour. I don't know about you, but like I've always found 5 a.m. to be just a purely magical hour. The sun's just coming up, but it's not up yet, so it's still a little dark. The world is quiet. Everyone's pretty much still asleep. And it's just this really, really peaceful time. And every time I wake up, I feel, at that time, I feel inspired and invigorated and just full of energy, regardless of really how much sleep I got the night before. If I didn't get that much sleep the night before, like I'm crashing later in the afternoon. But usually if I get up at that magic hour, I'm filled with so much, vigor, vitality than I would normally be. And I build momentum, and throughout the day, I can sort of talk myself into doing that extra thing. Like if there's a pile of laundry sitting in the corner, I'm much more likely to do it if I woke up early that morning than if I would have slept in and said, maybe I'll do it tomorrow. But just like little things like that, like I'm so much more willing to go that extra mile, and that carries on throughout the rest of the day. And like we were talking about, one of my favorite quotes from the book is, "The smallest of implementations is always more valuable than the grandest of intentions." And that just plays into what we were talking about, where you just you increase the likelihood that you're going to do that thing whatever that thing is, or whatever those things are, whatever those goals that you're chasing after, you increase the likelihood that those are going to get done that day if you wake up early. And, you know, we can have this grand vision or these goals or whatever that we're trying to achieve with our lives, but the dreams don't mean anything if you don't implement action towards those, right? And so the 5 a.m. routine, the early rising routine, I should say, is so impactful in making you a more sort of action-oriented individual, somebody who's more likely to take action throughout the day than if you were to just sleep in. So he also talks about a lot of practical tips that we can implement to do this. And one of them, and probably the most important, is that you need to have activities that you do when you wake up, right? You can't just wake up and just for the sake of waking up, right? He's got a whole framework that he goes through. And it's very detailed. I don't think it needs to be as detailed as what it's laid out in the book, but he basically says, like, you know, you should be working on your mind, your body, your soul, and your heart, I think, are like the 4 categories. But basically, do things that are going to build you up in core areas of your character, right? Your physical health, your mental state, your spiritual state. You know, do things that are going to hit all of those markers. And so for me, like the biggest things that I do when I wake up early, the most important things are, I'll usually get a Bible study in, you know, first 20 minutes, right? I will, and then I'll usually hit the gym. And so those 2 things together are kind of like my two go-tos when I wake up in the morning, or I'll go out for a run, right, if I'm not weightlifting that day. And I just find that those are just magic for building me up as a human being, and setting me up for a successful day. Another thing that he talks a lot about, obviously, since this is written in the 21st century, is distraction and technology, limiting tech use, especially the phone. You have to limit the phone use 1 hour before you go to bed and 1 hour after you wake up. I think that's just a very practical, basic rule. And one of the things that I'm going to do, I haven't done this yet, but I'm going to get a practical alarm clock that will wake me up so I can stop relying on my phone so much. I think that's just going to make a world of difference. You know, I think that's going to, it does so much to settle your mind when you're not, you know, distracted by your technology before bed. I don't know if you could stick to this if you didn't do those 2 things, or it'd be really hard, you know. And that's one habit that I have gotten into, is scrolling in bed, that I'm definitely going to cut out once I implement this routine. Another quote from the book that I really like is, he says, quote, "The closer you get to your genius, the more you'll face the sabotage of your own fears." This is very similar to the idea of resistance from The War of Art, which is another book that I want to make a video on. But it basically says, like, the more you walk down this path, you know, the more you start developing yourself, improving upon yourself, building the life that you're called to live, the more your fears will get in the way. Because resistance, things like self-sabotage, self-doubt, only show up when we have things in front of us that we care about, right? Because if you didn't care about it, you wouldn't be facing all this self-doubt, right? Like, self-doubt wouldn't even be a factor because you don't care, right? So obviously, the more you start to develop yourself, the more you're going to start facing self-sabotage and things of that nature. And so that's why he says stick to it. I think he goes through a lot of, like, again, scientific studies and whatnot that say that 66 days is kind of like the trial period that you should stick to it. I say it's for it to develop into a habit. I say like 2 weeks. Just give it 2 weeks. I think 2 weeks is more than enough for your body to get used to it. That's kind of been one of the hard things about why I haven't been able to stick to it lately, is because whenever I try to, my sleep just gets wrecked. I end up losing out on sleep. I feel horrible the next day, and then I'm like, well, why did I do this? And then I just go back to sleeping in. But you got to go through that trial period, you know? You've got to go through a certain period where your sleep might get messed up a little bit for a few days or maybe even a week. But you have to walk through that in order to allow yourself to adjust, to allow your body to adjust, your circadian rhythm, your mind to adjust, all that stuff. So I'm gonna give it, a couple weeks. But yeah, just give yourself some time to adjust, and you'll find that you'll start to get used to it, because your body and your mind are very adaptable if you just give it some time. But yeah, overall, guys, I recommend this book. Give it a read. But more so, I just recommend getting up early and getting after it. It's just one of those magic habits. Whenever I do it, I just feel like a better person. I feel stronger. I feel more alive. I feel more invigorated. And I just can't wait to start doing it again. It infuses my life with so much more excitement. Like, I just wake up every day looking forward to the day instead of just kind of, letting the day happen to me, like I said earlier. So if you've been struggling with waking up early, I do recommend reading this book. It is very motivating. If you can get past, like I said, the narrative does kind of get a little bit trite at some points, but it's a good book. I do recommend it. And yeah, I'll keep you guys posted, let you know how it's going. But yeah, this is one of those habits that I'm really looking forward to getting back to. So yeah, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.